Trump enacts more government shakeups. Why are eggs so expensive? And a Chinese AI sends US stocks plummeting because cheap Chinese knockoffs are always such a great investment. That and more on this week's America Uncovered headlines. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. And oh man, I think this old news hound is suffering from some information whiplash. The news is harder to keep up with right now than Usain Bolt in a race where your ankles are duct taped together. Take, for example, Trump's showdown with Colombian President Gustavo Petro, where Petro initially refused to accept deported immigrants, claiming it was against their human dignity to transport them on cargo planes. And Trump responded by threatening tariffs, resulting in Petro acquiescing, offering the use of his personal plane for transporting migrants, and the President of the United States actually posting this image so now your grandparents know what FAFO means. That sentence was enough story for 3 seasons of a Netflix show, and it was just day one. Then there's the Trump administration beginning immigration arrests in Chicago. This had some people worried, partially because Chicago Public Schools CEO Pedro Martinez reported that ICE agents were kept out of a South Side Chicago school while attempting a raid. But as we've unfortunately learned time and time again, you always need to double and triple check stories because these weren't actually members of ICE, but instead Secret Service agents.
To be clear again, these were Secret Service agents running down a threat that was made on TikTok. They were not ICE agents. ICE never went near that school. What do you say to Pedro Martinez and the governor of Illinois, who appear to be not only sowing information, but fear?
Well, Pedro Martinez lied. He lied to the city of Chicago because he knew it was Secret Service agents, because I talked to the people involved.
Why were Secret Service agents investigating the threat and not, say, local law enforcement or the FBI? Well, apparently the threat was made against a public official they protect. Why did they visit the school during the investigation? Less clear. Overall, the most surprising part of the story to me is that a threat was made over TikTok. But nothing bad ever happens on that app, and I'm totally stoked that it's still around, collecting information for a foreign adversary and stoking division to weaken us as a nation. Oops, I meant to say, sharing mini pottery videos. Yay, so satisfying. Wouldn't you love to film something like this on a military base? The Trump administration's immigration crackdowns have also expanded to New York City. According to Fox News, left-leaning media are claiming Trump's immigration policies are racist and cruel, which, well, it wouldn't be the first time. Meanwhile, immigration experts claim Trump is promoting white supremacy. Trump's policies even made Selena Gomez cry and say she wishes there was something she could do. Have celebrities tried singing Imagine? Surely that would work this time. Because as we all know, deportations are cruel, even when it's primarily targeting illegal immigrants with a criminal record. And any president engaging in such behavior is an obvious white supremacist.
If you're a criminal, you'll be deported. If you plan to enter the U.S. illegally, your chances of getting caught and sent back just went up.
Maybe half-white supremacist? Obama deported over 2.5 million immigrants during his presidency, more than any other president. But thankfully, left-leaning media was just as critical of Obama doing the same thing, as you can see here. In somehow even more news relating to immigration, DEA agents, along with ICE and Homeland Security officers, arrested nearly 50 people in a Colorado raid targeting Tren de Aragua Venezuelan gang members. There's a chance they could be going to Guantanamo Bay, as Trump announced he will send the worst illegal immigrant criminals there.
We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. Some of them are so bad we don't even trust the countries to hold them.
But perhaps no criminal, illegal or domestic, has been more brazen than somebody putting googly eyes on art sculptures in Bend, Oregon. What kind of sick, degenerate lowlife would do something as twisted as this? Well, apparently local man Jeff Keith admitted to being behind some of these and similar pranks in the area, and he did it to help him cope with his job, an organization he founded that helps combat human trafficking. That kind of sick, degenerate lowlife. Okay, well, I guess this is harmless, and he seems like a great person, but still, I'm gonna keep my eyes on you, Keith, before you put your eyes on me. And after the break, the DC plane crash. Welcome back. More than 60 people are presumed dead after a plane crashed into a military helicopter in Washington, D.C. Details are still coming in about what now appears to be the deadliest U.S. aviation disaster since 2009. It's not fully clear right now what exactly went wrong, and it might be a while before we have any definitive answers. So, naturally, now is the perfect time to assign blame for political points. Some on the left are blaming the Trump administration, pointing out that last week he fired the heads of the TSA and gutted a key aviation safety advisory committee, and that the FAA administrator quit on January 20th after Elon Musk told him to resign. Some on the right, meanwhile, including President Trump himself, are blaming the Biden administration and putting DEI policies first.
The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his city into the ground, and he's a disaster now. He's just got a good line of bullshit. The Department of Transportation, his government agency charged with regulating civil aviation. Well, he runs it, 45,000 people, and he's run it right into the ground with his diversity.
With the limited amount of information he had when he gave those remarks, how did he know DEI was to blame for this particular accident? Did he hear that the flying conditions were dark and it was a Black Hawk helicopter and think DEI has gone too far this time? You know, this constant barrage of news sure can make you thirsty. Fortunately, you can now hydrate from limited edition $40 signed mugs sold by Donald Trump. They're meant to raise funds for what Trump is calling his first ever presidential fundraising goal. He's raising money the same way second graders do when they want to fund a field trip. But I think this is a mistake. Trump mugs? Trump mug shot glasses were right there. Besides fundraising, Trump is shaking up everything. Google says it will change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America on Google Maps after an executive order Trump signed requiring the name be changed on official maps and communications. Hey, he's providing jobs for cartographers. That's great. Everyone's been saying for decades now that we need to boost the cartography industry. That was the #1 priority in the last election. Harris would have probably won if she was just a little more pro-cartographer. The White House also ordered a temporary pause on federal loans and grants as it begins an ideological review of its spending. In a memo, the acting director of the Office of Management and Budget explained the use of federal resources to advance Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies is a waste of taxpayer dollars that does not improve the day-to-day lives of those we serve. One senior member of the Trump administration told the Daily Mail that this pause isn't meant to target assistance to individuals, such as Medicare or Social Security, and that agencies have until February 10th to submit reports on programs, projects, or activities subject to the pause. However, like the ending of a David Lynch movie, rest in peace, this order left everyone frightened and confused. But at the last minute, a federal judge paused the funding freeze until February 3rd. Congress has already approved this funding, and many are criticizing this action as illegal. And many more are worried because several organizations and institutions rely on that funding to operate. To which I'm sure Donald Trump is thinking, hey, if you need funding so badly, have you tried selling mugs? Trump is also looking to shrink the size of government. His administration announced it's looking to downsize, but offered federal worker buyouts with about 8 months' pay if they choose to leave voluntarily by February 6th. There are over 2 million federal employees, and if even a small percentage of them take this offer, it's unknown what effects it might have. The government might not operate very efficiently and be frustrating to deal with on any level. So same old, same old. Trump also signed an executive order seeking to examine and potentially overhaul the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. So another way to put it, Trump's attempting to provide relief to a disaster that's supposed to provide relief to a disaster. Trump and many Republicans have criticized FEMA's disaster response, saying it's biased against Republicans. This likely stems from an incident last year where a FEMA employee was fired after telling workers to ignore homes showing support for Donald Trump during hurricane relief efforts. Trump also signed a series of executive orders to remove DEI from the military, as well as allow soldiers to return who were expelled for refusing to take the COVID vaccine. Or another way to put it, he's going to allow people who avoided getting shot up the opportunity to potentially get shot up. And Trump fired Department of Justice officials who worked on criminal investigations targeting him. Or another way to put it, duh. Is anyone shocked he wouldn't want to have the people who are actively trying to incarcerate him in his administration? These firings also aren't a surprise since the person they were working under resigned, Special Counsel Jack Smith, who looks like me giving a press conference after being rescued from a deserted island where I lived off bugs for the last 7 months. Hey, I was able to get in another one after all. The Realtors Association says U.S. home sales have fallen to the lowest level in nearly 30 years. And of course, we all know the reason so few people are able to afford buying a home. The price of eggs is too darn high. Depending on what social media algorithm you're trapped in, you've likely seen a lot of memes either blaming Biden for the price of eggs or mocking Trump for not making eggs cheaper after 2 weeks. Now, I hope this won't come as a surprise to any of you, but the reason eggs are so expensive isn't because the president was messing with the price of eggs lever behind his desk, which is right next to the price of gas switch. No matter who was in office, egg prices were going to be high and will likely still get higher. This is because of the bird flu outbreak that began in 2022. Since then, over 135 million birds have been affected, with farmers having no choice but to kill their poultry once they've become infected. This severely limits the supply, and since demand is the same, the price of eggs will continue to increase. And it's likely not to get much better, since a rare strain of the bird flu was just detected on a California poultry farm. Some experts are concerned about the possibility of this strain being able to be transmitted to human hosts, which means they'll need to be even more cautious, which means eggs will continue to get more expensive. If things keep getting worse pretty soon, instead of platinum chains and diamond grills, rappers are going to flaunt their wealth by waving around an omelet. Brown eggs are now more expensive than Fabergé ones. And the rich are also feeling some economic burden, as tech stocks plummeted by $1 trillion over the Chinese AI startup DeepSeek. This was the biggest market loss in history, with tech company Nvidia alone losing $600 billion, or 17% of its market value, almost instantly. And tech billionaires lost almost $100 billion from their net worth. For an in-depth breakdown on DeepSeek from my twin brother, China Uncensored's Chris Chappell, click the link below. For a quick recap, we now go to China Uncensored's Chris. Chris? It's a data mining, Chinese history censoring Trojan horse that only idiots would use, much less invest in. What are you thinking? Ah! Thanks, Chris. It's something we'll definitely need to keep our eyes on. No, not those eyes, you prankster. And in my ongoing attempt to talk about things YouTube considers too controversial by hiding them in gaming content, here's a video talking about the danger of woke in the new Soul Reaver remaster. Click here and let me know what you think. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thank you for watching America Uncovered.